Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Knicks, Mets, and Jets fans. My name is Nick, a.k.a. Goody, and with me is my old man, a.k.a. the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. Wow. I mean, if you're watching this show for sure, or if you're just, anybody who lives on planet Earth, then you already know Dante DiVincenzo hits one of the biggest shots in New York Knicks playoff history. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Talk to me, big guy, as somebody who's been there, who's been in the building for some of the biggest moments. How are we feeling about those Knicks, and where does that moment rank?
It ranks right up there, for sure. Just looking at the game, watching the game, and seeing the crowd, it reminded me a lot of the crowd and the reaction when Ewing dunked the ball after the Starks layup miss against Indiana in the 80s. Just from watching on TV, it definitely was reminiscent of the LJ, the four-pointer, So, I mean, it ranks right up there, man. It was a heck of a shot. And, it didn't end the game like it wasn't a buzzer beater, but it for all intents and purposes, it definitely won us the game, and for all intents and purposes, ended the game for them. I tell you, it ranks right up there. Just a fantastic shot. Just a fantastic display of New York Knicks basketball.
Yeah, I mean, just grabbing victory from the jaws of defeat. It just seemed like everything was all going bad from about like the 8-minute mark, basically when we brought Brunson back in, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And all of a sudden things are going badly, but that shot really just epitomizes our team and what we're all about. We first and foremost, the effort's always going to be there. We are the best offensive rebounding team in the league, and you don't get to that without having supreme effort and also some guys who have some particular skills that make them good at that particular thing. But in addition to that, the preparation, because our team, we drill that end situation. We drill when we get an offensive rebound, how to relocate and get into wide open threes. And we've seen that all season. We just happen to see it in the biggest moment of the season thus far. And clearly that preparedness, not only the way that we play the inbound pass just before, but then the way that we deal with that, we crash the glass, we kick it back out, we get another one, we kick it back out again to DiVincenzo, we get to second shot. Who doesn't prepare for end game situations and all the different things that can happen? Nick Nurse. And we saw that by the way that they handled that. And let's go ahead and get into him. Talk to me about his post game comments, his 2-finger timeouts, and just overall, with the controversy that came along with the game, with them saying that we were fouling Maxey, Nick Nurse didn't get a timeout, as well as the NBA 2-minute report coming out and confirming that. I know you had some very choice words for them and that entire situation directed towards me via text. Let's hear it. How do you feel about it?
Like I always say to you, Nick, it's a loser's lament. You only hear this from the team that loses, right? For obvious reasons. They're upset, they lost, blah, blah, blah. When the team is the aggressor, this is in all levels of basketball I've seen my entire life, from Biddy on up. The team that is the aggressor gets the benefit of the calls. We were the aggressor all night, well, most of the night, definitely down the stretch. I don't think it was a foul. I mean, this guy pushed Hart, and then, honestly, Nick, I mean, I saw Brunson tip the ball, maybe from Maxey. But then Maxey just went into like a spasm and just tossed up the ball and then went to the ground for whatever reason and turned around towards the Knicks, who, by the way, Josh Hart stood back and went like this when that happened to make sure no foul was called. He stood like that. And, your man, what's his name? Nick Nurse with the little baby timeout. First of all, man, you got to be more forceful with it. Second of all, he was like this. He was thinking about calling a timeout. And then he got a little more forceful when Hart had already gotten the ball. The ref did the right thing in not calling a timeout there because there was no clear possession there. It was in flux. He did not have the right to call a timeout because Hart was already in the process of picking up that ball, which this guy had lost. Listen, when you lose and you spend it. They had at least 5 opportunities down to the end of that game where they could have won the game. First of all, which after Brunson hits the three, they could have just called timeout and get it at center court. Game over.
Game before that, Lowry hit your free throw.
That's
right before that, Lowry missed the free throw.
Hit your second free throw. Right. And, oh, by the way, after they don't call the timeout after Brunson hits the three, well, what's Lowry rushing for running out of bounds to inbounds that ball? Nobody was ready for that.
Nobody's ready for that. And Kyle Lowry's been in the game for how long? Forever. And he doesn't know. First of all, they should have, as soon as the ball went to the basket, it should have been timeout.
Timeout.
As soon as the ball went to the basket, it should have been a timeout because you want to advance the ball right there. You don't want to inbound it underneath your own basket. That's just like, I don't know, basketball. That's not even basketball 101. That's some shit you learn in middle school to be able to even get to basketball 101. So that's right there should have immediately been a timeout. And that to me is not. That's first and foremost, it's on the coach. Nick Nurse, you got to do that. Second of all, Kyle Lowry, you got to know that too, man. Come on, you're a point guard who's been in the league for this long, and you don't know in that situation right now. You need to call a timeout. And then he picks up the ball so quickly with his back towards the play when he first picks it up off a dead ball. So now the ref starts chopping.
That's right.
You see guys all the time. They come over there and they look around and they make sure everybody's set, and then they pick up the ball, and then the ref starts chopping.
Okay, so the ref to come get the ball and hand it to you.
Right. All of those are possible. But, okay, I do understand in that situation, there is something advantageous to getting the ball in quick before the defense has a chance to set up. But in that situation, now you pass it into a guy, and did Brunson tug on his jersey a little bit? Sure. The Josh Hart alleged foul, I didn't see. I've watched it so many times. I do not see Josh Hart foul him. And I do see him run right up to Josh Hart and push Josh Hart, and Josh Hart go back. And it didn't seem as if Josh Hart was trying to stay in the play at that point. He's trying to deny him the ball. It's not like he flopped to try to be like, oh, he pushed me. No, no. He legitimately pushed him. But that's fine. I'm okay with you not calling that. But
that's not a foul. That's not a foul.
Right. That's fine. That's okay. But then my thing is that watch the whole series, and I sent you 2 videos today of both Deuce and Brunson on inbounds when they're trying to get open, and it's Batum or it's whoever, and they're all types of grabbing them as they run past, grabbing them across their jersey, and the refs aren't calling that. So if they're not calling that now, they can't all of a sudden call it in the heat of the moment when typically wrestles, if anything, someone swallow their whistle at that point. I just think that
they should.
Now, if this was totally flipped, would I be screaming that he got fouled? I would be screaming that he got fouled. Of course I would, because I do see in some points that he did get fouled. I can't be dishonest about that. I hate the refs. I think they've done a terrible job all year. But the other thing is that I know for a fact I would also be really annoyed that we couldn't get a defensive rebound, that we didn't know that we should have called a timeout in that situation. That if my coach doing a little 2-finger baby timeout, which he was like, he like pump faked it. It was not a demonstrative like, yo, timeout.
If he really wanted, he would have walked on the floor and been like, timeout.
Tibbs has never called a timeout. Right. Tibbs has never called a timeout like that in his life. Okay?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Spoelstra, these guys, they don't call timeouts like that. They are demonstrative. And for him to say, I went back after his post-game comments, I went back and looked at it, and I called it twice, and the guy looked at me and said, but then I'm done with the 2-minute report, because the 2-minute report confirmed it. It said that there was 2 different instances where he should have got it, and I don't get that, because the second time he called it, clearly the ball is up for grabs at that point. There's no possession. You cannot call a timeout right there.
I keep telling you, you can't call a timeout right there, and there was no clear possession, like you said, but again, this 2-minute report, let's forget about that. That does nothing. Like they said, I got something saying that they're filing a grievance. I laughed. I said somebody called a ambulance. No, what difference does it make? File a grievance. What, are you going to replay the game? Oh, we'll give you a do-over. Come on, man. I think
it's gamesmanship. It's gamesmanship.
Right, I get it, fine. But I think it's lack of leadership on Nurse's part, because clearly in that locker room, he's in there with those guys saying, well, guys, that the refs, basically saying, yeah, we got jerked by the refs and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Frankly, the one person I heard take some responsibility for it was Maxey. Where he said, I can't turn the ball over there and blah, blah, blah. And that's the deal, man. That's the deal. All you have to do right there is not turn the ball over. Even if you get thrown to the ground, just hold the ball I mean,
Right.
worst you can come out with is a jump ball. But literally, I would stay there with my back and hold the ball until somebody screamed a timeout. I
Right.
mean, be like a
Right.
turtle. Anything. You know, you just let this guy take the ball, man. And Josh Hart's been doing that to people all year. He's got some of the best hands in the game when it comes
Yeah.
to around the basket, a loose ball. You know, I mean, his
Yeah.
guy's numbers are uncanny.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just gotta. I mean, listen, they gotta take it on the chin. And then your man Embiid with this locker front interview the whole
I don't
time
get
with his
that.
hand in his Nick.
I don't get that.
When I watched that, I said to myself, if that was my son, I would somehow get in that locker room and rip him off that little chair and say, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Be a man about it. Stand up, look in the camera, and speak to the people." I mean, you can't. I don't care what you're saying. And people say, "Oh, he had to say that." Well, I think he could say, "I think we're going to win this series." That's fine if he wants to say that. I don't agree with him. I think it's foolish to stand there and say, "We're the better team right now." I think that's foolish. But that's how you feel. Fine. But with your hand in your hair, looking down to the ground, never once looking the camera or the people you're speaking to in the eye, I don't know what society or culture that makes sense. I really don't. I'm sorry.
I don't get what he was trying to prove by doing that. Maybe he didn't want to show off that increasingly lazy eye he's got going on or something. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't understand that. Yeah, I honestly. I'm telling you, and I was talking to someone who was going back and forth with somebody. Damn, I wish I could remember who it was on Twitter the other day. We were talking about the fact that something's going on with it. It's getting worse. Like he's got some sort of tick or something. Like his eye does not always look as it does right now. Currently, I don't know exactly what the issue is.
It might be a weakening muscle. Some people with the silly eye, it gets sillier as they get older.
I think that might be what's going on. But man, listen, that was some silly shit he did by sitting there with his head down and talking like that. It was so weak. It was like as if he was trying not to show everybody that he was crying.
Exactly.
And yes,
which is very possible.
Oh yeah, you know what that guy? It's very possible. Don't let his woman in the locker room. He'll definitely start crying on her shoulder. We know that. But nah, man. My whole thing is like, first and foremost, you can say, I still have confidence that we're going to win this series. And right now, what we need to do is we need to win this next game. That's it. It starts with winning this next game. Going out of your way to say what he said, I've heard that same thing about like, oh well, he's got to do that as the star to keep his guys up and blah blah blah. Yeah, all right. If you say so, it sounded desperate to me. It sounded like a man just grasping for straws and trying to figure out what to do. When what he should have been trying to figure out what to do is box out Isaiah Hartenstein, one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. And this guy comes in
boxing out Josh Hart. At the time, he went and stood near to Josh Hart. So maybe he made the wrong choice. Obviously. But
okay.
He got a rebound in the fourth quarter. He wasn't boxing anyone out.
The rebound. I know that you can't move, but I watched a guy. This is episode 34, so shout to Charles Oakley. But I watched a guy who couldn't jump at all, and this guy consistently got rebounds. So box somebody out, get a rebound. Don't let this guy come flying in. And he also, have you seen in the replay of that play where I think Lowry is trying to get a call and trying to get a flop because he pushes Lowry in that during the play at some point. Lowry goes and flies out of bounds. I don't know. I don't know what that was about, but man, listen, I just think that the Knicks showed the grit and the resolve that they've shown all season. They never give up in a game. And Dante takes that first shot and misses somewhat badly too, off the heel, a little bit too much, a little too jacked up. And then the second shot goes to him, and when that gets swung to him, I don't know why, but as soon as he got that ball and let it go, I was like, "That's good." I could just feel it was good. It just looked good off his hand. It looked wet. He clearly was still confident. We made the correct play, and the offensive rebounding, which they made a big effort to not let us kill them on the glass like we did last game. We only I rebounded them by 2. We got the 2 biggest rebounds.
That's right.
The offensive rebound. You said to me earlier in the game, they're going to make an effort to try to not let us kill them on the glass, but they're not truthfully built like that, and it will show itself. Well, it took a really long time, but it did. It showed itself on that last play, because on that last play, they weren't. When all that's going on, it's not about. You're not thinking about your game plan. You're not thinking about the fact that, like, okay, we really, really got to box this guy out. We really got to keep them off the glass. And this guy Isaiah Hartenstein. No, when you get to that point, it's about the habits that you have built over time and over a season. And that's when it showed up. It showed up with us being able to secure that rebound. And then, gotta shout my man OG. That cat is ice water, man. He just ice water. He grabs the big. And also, it's not like that was the end of the game. No. Hartenstein comes down and makes an amazing block. Hartenstein knows that this is the play that they're going to run. They're definitely going to run this. He's going to try to get downhill. We can't stop him from doing this all of these 2 games. And then when it counts, he gets a fingertip just enough on it, gets a clean, perfect block. OG comes up with the rebound. He doesn't do some silly shit trying to dribble it around. He holds the ball and gets fouled and then goes down, ice water, 1-2, ball game. And, and also that shot that they got up for the last shot, a B 25-footer. Come on, man. You got to get off a better shot than that, Nick Nurse. Why you want to draw up a play with those 2 fingers that you were using to call a timeout? I mean, come on, man. That's the thing. I'm off Nick Nurse. I was a guy. He's a pretty good coach, blah, blah, blah. The way that he handled that post game, even if Tibbs is pissed at the ref, he still would have talked about the things that we should have done better.
That's right.
Absolutely. Even if he's
this way.
Come on, man. I just think that the Knicks, they showed up there. Your man John Starks was in the front row. He looked like he was going to come out there and commit a hard foul at one point or not. Like I thought he was so pumped. Everybody's seen that great picture. It's the thumbnail of this video. You'll see it. So if you don't know what picture we're talking about of Josh Hart and John Starks, 2 great New York number 3s. Embracing. You got your guy Melo over there, and Melo comes to games, but Melo's not always hyped like that. Melo was hyped.
No.
Melo was hyped.
Very Melo.
Yeah. Spree was hyped. You even got Tim Thomas there. Everybody was there. Once a Knick, always a Knick. Bernard King was there. Bernard keeps it seated pretty much, but specifically Spree, Starks, and Melo. Those guys were just, they were in the game, man. They were pumped. It was really, really cool to see. And I think this is a perfect place to transition to the savior for us in this series, our best player and the MVP for the Knicks through the first 2 games. All of a sudden, he's a sniper. He's taking, he's taking early 3s in the shot clock to get an extra possession. Our guy, Josh Hart.
No, Josh Hart's playing fantastic. I mean, listen, you can't say enough about him. He's just unreal, just the way he plays the game. Now, let's also realize this. Josh Hart is predominantly a backup, one of the other guys on the team, not a main player, whatever. He's not a superstar. He may not be as proficient in an away game. Usually your other guys are more proficient at home. So I'm not expecting that from Josh Hart again when we're away, definitely. And
I don't expect him to do this ever. The second half, you look, all of a sudden, he's taking a couple times he comes up, pulls up for a 3, and I'm like, yo, chill. Like, we not.
Right. Slow that down. Go to the hole. Listen, though, one point I wanted to bring up to you. Something with this guy Embiid, all right? Because I've told you for years I'm not a fan, and I wouldn't want him on the Knicks. Okay? When he's winning MVPs and everything, I said he's a great player. I don't want him on the team. Something that's I've come to figure out, I think, like, honestly. There's some guys. Now, where I grew up. Grew up in Brooklyn, tough area, tough neighborhood. Grew up with a lot of tough guys. I'm no friggin' tough guy, but I knew a lot of tough guys, a lot of good guys, a lot of every guys, right? You can somehow tell with certain people make false bravado that they're not real to who they're trying to say they are. They're not as strong as they try to make themselves out to be. He is that guy. I'm telling you now. And on the flip side to that, while we will speak about Brunson shortly, Brunson, for all his fucking up so far this series, of course, made the big shot, but I believe in his core, he is who he says he is. He is who he acts.
He's like authentic.
He's authentic. I don't think Embiid is authentic. I think Embiid is soft. And he's got a soft inner middle, and it comes out and it shows itself at the biggest moments, like the other night. I mean, come on, man. Sorry, but and just his performance after the game and Nick Nurse, they're a joke. But anyway, we move on.
Yeah, I totally agree as far as Embiid, and I think he's an extremely talented player, but I've never really liked his overall just persona and the way that he talks to the media and the way that even he carries himself on the court. I mean, him trying to act as if that shouldn't have been a technical foul earlier in the game. It was DiVincenzo or was it Josh Hart? It was Josh. No, there was another time where he pushed Josh Hart where there wasn't a technical foul called.
Okay.
And they went and looked at it, but they just called it a common foul. I think it was against DiVincenzo when it was actually when the technical foul was actually called. And I mean, why do you think that you can just push this guy with your two hands and he can dude? Since when is that not? I mean, that's always been a tech. That's been a tech since at least since like the late '90s to early 2000s. I mean, come on.
And you're a giant, and you're doing this to a 6'5", 6'4" guy. What are you doing?
Right. Exactly. Wow. And he just lost himself for a second. He was just getting frustrated in that moment.
That's
now,
exactly right.
We can't stop the guy. I mean, the guy's friggin' so talented. It seems like
he can pass. He's good. He's very, very good. But I think we can beat him.
Oh, I surely think we can beat him. My prediction was Knicks in 5. We are one good half away from it being an absolute sweep. We come out and we rock them the first half next game. And, I mean, listen, we're up 2-0. And our best player has shot below 30%, has played the worst I've ever seen him play. I've never seen him play.
The worst 2 games we've seen him play since he's been a Knick.
Since he's been a Knick. I can't remember watching him on Villanova and ever seeing him be like this. I mean, let's go ahead and get into Brunson. I mean, this is the thing with Brunson. It's not that he's just missing shots. It's that he is, and he said it after game 1, that he's playing sped up. He doesn't look like himself. He's not taking the shots he typically takes. He's forcing shots sometimes. And listen, Brunson, him, his teammates, Tibbs, all of them. Can somebody explain to me why, when we got things going and we're up by 8 points, first of all, I would have given Brunson till like 6 minutes before I brought him back in at that point, just because that lineup was going so well. You got to bring Brunson back in. I can't second guess Tom Thibodeau for bringing back in his MVP. But when we go ahead and we bring him back in, why all of a sudden does the entire offense become Brunson iso ball? It was like I was watching Melo on the Mike Woodson Knicks. It was driving me bananas, and I couldn't understand. And it just continued to happen, and the lead just continues to go away. We continue to get bad possessions, and they march themselves back and then take the lead. And I was just like, what are we doing? I don't understand that. I don't understand why we totally went away with what was going well for us, which was moving the ball. And I've heard you kill Julius for stuff like this in the past. We both used to drive us nuts with Melo back in the day. But again, I made this point with both of them. I make this point again. I almost feel as if that's like what is being called. That's like the play that we're trying to. I don't feel like Brunson is getting the ball and just waving everybody off and saying, this is what I'm doing. It seems as if the coach, Brunson, and everybody are all complicit and all in agreement on this is what we're running right now. And I just don't get that.
Okay, so I've heard Tim say many times, and I believe the deal is this, that in many cases, Nick, unless he calls a specific play, it's just a philosophy. They move, they get the ball, and you move the ball. Obviously, Brunson's the head guy, but you move the ball and you trust the pass, all that kind of crap. But you might trust the pass and everything, but Brunson wasn't trusting the pass right there. I don't know why he couldn't seem to get it through his head not to make the change. Now, I'm thinking he's going to watch and they're going to coach him up this next few days. Listen, these guys have definitely sped him up. I don't think any other team, honestly, will play this good a defense against him. Maybe if it was Boston and it's Drew Holiday. But they've really done – I mean, listen, Kelly Oubre has done a very good job of making Brunson's life hell. But Brunson has to – don't pick up his dribble and just move the ball. When you get into situations, just move the ball. Stop forcing shots. And you will get good shots because of that. Because if you move the ball enough and other guys are scoring, they'll start backing off of you because they realize the ball is whizzing by them and somebody's scoring, and then you're going to get a little more space. I think he'll figure it out. I really, 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 if I had to bet, I'd bet that he's going to have a big game tomorrow. I really do believe it.
At this point, I got to see it, man, because I said that there's no chance he has a second game like he did in the first, and he had an even worse game in the second game. So yeah. I got to see it at this point. Come on, Brunson, I need you, guy. He's been our guy. Obviously, I have all the faith in him in the world. I love the fact that he continues to play. He ends up hitting, the second biggest shot in the game, and then being involved with the turnover from Maxey. But overall, right before he hit that shot, that he had another brutal almost turnover right there. Luckily, just where it's just like, what were you trying to do right there? Where were you trying to?
He just literally just went down to the ground. Nick, if we don't win that game in amazing fashion, we're very, very upset right now. It's the razor's edge. We're very upset right now. We're screaming about Brunson, and I don't know. There might be even some tip slander going around. At this point, if we lost that game, listen, man, Knicks Nation would be in an uproar right now. Okay,
100%.
So we're that far away from that being the case. Okay, that's sports.
100%. I love the juxtaposition of the first game. You got Deuce and Mitch being them, along with Josh Hart being the best players in the game, having huge impacts. And then in the second game, you have Ragu and iHeart being the two that are, along with Josh Hart, the most important players in the game and having huge impacts. Got to give Tibbs credit there for, in both of those situations, it seems like absolutely, rolling sevens when it comes to playing the hot hand, and those guys coming out and doing their thing. I cannot say enough about Hartenstein. We really needed his offense in the second half. Guy scored 14 points. He was 7 of 7 in the second half. And, that little float game, he's getting all the way to the rim for dunks, and just being there on the offensive glass as he always is. Defensively playing fantastic, getting hype, getting the crowd hype. Hartenstein was fantastic. And then Ragu hitting the shots, making that play. That Ragu was the one that got that loose ball when Brunson did that silly shit at the end.
Right.
That, where Ragu was the person that – right. You know what I'm saying? So – and then Brunson having the confidence, that's, to me, that's some superstar shit, though, right there. Even though you're playing terrible, even though everything's going bad, you got the confidence to go ahead and take that shot. And, thank God it bounces up and then over and goes in.
So, okay, hold it, though, Nick. First of all, that was amazing how that shot went in. It bounced up. Come on.
So unlikely, man.
But the fact that he was able to have the confidence to take that shot is also part and parcel to him in taking the shots earlier. And that he said, and they will say sometimes, they encourage him, keep shooting, because they feel like the next one's going to drop and then it's a roll. If there's any inclination on the team or in him, and now I'm just brainstorming here, to say, hey, man, maybe you should show. Maybe he might have thought twice about taking that shot, and that's all, that split second of doubt, that shot never goes in. In fact, I don't know how the shot went in, even if he was confident as hell, because that was the luckiest shot in the world. For it to bounce off the rim like that, straight up in the air, then down. Come on. It's amazing. That's divine intervention. That's the guard.
Yeah, that's the guard. I heard somebody say, I don't know if it was Han, maybe it was Han, but he said the energy of Melo, Sprewell, and Starks was got into that ball somehow and just pushed it over the rim. Starks was. I love Starks.
So he's so high.
We gotta figure out a way to get Starks to Philly. Get him out there, get him a security guard. Let's go.
Really. Get Starks a sideline pass. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to see Starks. I want to see him like freaking punch Kevin Hart in the face or some shit like that.
Right. Or rolling around with like Iverson.
Oh, man. So now we go into game 3 on Thursday. Game 4 is on Sunday. And, we got a couple days. Embiid will get a couple days to rest. Brunson will get a couple days to, I don't know, get his mind right. I don't know if he needs to go climb a mountain and do some yoga or some shit. He's got to do something. Watch some tape for sure. Hopefully, I really would like to see us be a little bit more creative with how we get him the ball. I honestly, at this point, would say if they're going to go ahead and they're going to put this guy, Oubre, if they're going to put Oubre on him, don't have him bring the ball up. Don't have him. I would say don't have him bring the ball up. DiVincenzo and Josh Hart are both very capable of bringing the ball up. Let's do something, and then we also need to do some more things to try to get OG some easy baskets, some more pin downs, something where he's going to the rim and getting some easy baskets.
This guy, what's his name? Lowry is holding him. Why are we not posting OG up with Lowry on?
Because Lowry's got the Nicki Minaj thighs, and he pushes him off the spot. And OG is not a give OG the ball and let him cook offensive player. He's not. He's just not, okay? So, I don't think we need to do more of that, but I would like to do some things where, hey, listen, if Kyle Lowry is going to be guarding him, like I'm saying, do some pin downs, do some flare screen type shit where he's catching the ball below the foul line, and now he's catching it, and he can just turn and just shoot the ball. Boom. Yep. Or if you can, just go straight to the basket. We need to do some more with that. Tibbs is going to make some adjustments. I'm hoping that we see a couple different wrinkles in Game 3. And overall, I'm just so happy with this team. I thought the way that game ended, the fact that we just always never give up, the fact that we're always prepared for every situation and we execute, and I've been saying it all year to you, Dad. Even when we're playing inferior competition and the game ends up being close, the Knicks are learning how to win games late. And that pays dividends as the season goes on, and we saw it pay in spades in Game 2, and now we're up 2-0. We've held serve. We go to Philly, and if we win one, I feel great. But man, let's go ahead and get the brooms out, man. Let's because especially now that Embiid said this bullshit and about how we're the better team, we're gonna win the series. We're the better team right now. Okay, all right. Let's put him in a position where after the series, he ain't got shit to say. I want him to refuse media availability after Game 4.
Right, exactly. No, he's a clown, and I'm hoping, I believe that the Knicks have taken notice of the things he said, of course, and it annoys them a little bit. They're like, yeah, okay, and I want them to shut him up, and please, man, and watch, Nick. I'm telling you now, if they have some good moments, Philly does. You're going to see this guy Embiid pumping his chest on court. And I get it. You're in front of your home crowd. Everybody's going to be getting pumped. But let me tell you something. If the Knicks start doing some work down there, two things are going to happen. First of all, there are going to be some Knicks people in the crowd, and they're going to be loud. Okay? Could be some brawls in the crowd in Philly. Second thing that's going to happen is the Philly fans are going to turn on them Sixers real fast. If we blitz them early and we're up by like 10, 15 at the half, Nick, they're getting booed into the locker room. I'm guaranteeing you now that's going to happen. So the pressure is going to be on them big time. And we have to realize that and make sure we keep the pressure on them because they're going to be shook, man. They're already shook. And I'm telling you, part of the reason they're so shook is because they're shook at the top, their head, And listen, Tyrese Maxey, he's a young player. He was a little shook the other day at the very end of that game. He got a little frustrated. He got a little flustered. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
He got a little flustered. He's fantastic. He's played fantastic, obviously.
Player. Come on, man. He's a fantastic player. Yeah, sure. Come on. But again, you got to go back to what I've been preaching to you for years now. Your man Tibbs is a hell of a coach.
Yeah,
he really is. He really is, and it's like you said, showing itself.
It really is. And, got to give all the credit that's due to Tibbs. He's going to get paid this summer as he rightfully should. What's up with that challenge where Dante DiVincenzo gets smacked up? They go and they look at the challenge and they come back and say that I guess that he hit the ball first. So therefore the contact after that is incidental. Which I don't know. Maybe I haven't been watching basketball my entire life, but I've never known where you can just slap a guy up like that and it's incidental. And I saw multiple angles where it looked like the contact on his shoulder with Lowry's other hand happened simultaneously with the contact with the ball. And then right after that, he rakes through him. Like, I mean, even if you block somebody's shot and then you rake through them and hit them like that, that's typically I don't know. Maybe they've changed the rule. Seriously, honestly, have they changed the rule? Because
yeah, you could hit somebody with the follow through. But I agree with you. It looks shaky right there. But this is what I always see and say First of all, again, we don't think it's fixed or anything, but two people can look at the exact same thing, Nick, in every walk of life, in every instance, in everything, and see two totally different things. So, I mean, it's just humans, man. It's just humans. It's amazing sometimes, Nick. We've sat there and watched things together and are blown away by how the refs see it or the replay people see it when it's obvious to us that something's here. Listen, we've seen some things where you and I see something different.
Sure.
Okay? So you just got to chalk it up. It was annoying. I was pissed off when it happened. This is real life.
What did you think of Bron referencing the Knicks and talking about the Knicks as well as the referees in his game after blowing a 20-point lead to the Nuggets?
Man. Exactly. I'm sorry. I do believe Bron is a good leader. I was disappointed in that statement from him. Dude, you're up 20. Okay? You're up 20. Your man, what's his name? AD played well, but I think he took one shot in in the fourth quarter or something. Listen, man, you're up 20 points. You were up 11, by the way, when the call that he's moaning about happened. You're up 11 at that point. Okay? Right. So stop, man. Stop, Bron. You're playing yourself now. And I like LeBron. I think he's a good leader. I think he's a good young man. And I think he's obviously one of the greatest players ever, right?
Young man?
Well, he is a young man to me. But he just, that was embarrassing, man. You shouldn't have said that. And talking about the Knicks, I don't even know what you're talking about. What was he referencing? That end of game scenario?
Maxey.
Yeah, what? I mean, come on, man. If you saw that and you think that the Knicks did something egregious there, again, Nick, I honestly do believe if that had happened to the Knicks, and you know me on this, if that had happened to the Knicks, I for 1 second wouldn't have been like bitching and moaning. I might have said we got fouled, but the first thing I would have said is, we blew the game. We blew the game. And you know that's how I get down. I just don't, there's nothing else to say or do when you're a leader. Right. Even if you feel opposite, that's what you should say because you have to show strength and control the situation. I mean, there's no upside to, crying a river.
Mets went on a West Coast trip. They just finished that up today. They went 3-3 on the West Coast trip, winning the first two against the Dodgers, losing the third, losing the first two against the Giants, and then today they won 8-2. Lindor had 2 home runs and a total of 4 RBI on the day. He has pulled his average up above 200. He showed some life, then fell off a little bit, and then got red hot on the last game of the trip. So hopefully he can continue that trend. Your guy, who you said who? You didn't even know who he was. Your boy Tyrone Taylor. Another huge day for him. 2 for 5, 2 runs, 3 RBI, hit a home run, hit a double. His average is up to 327. Talk to me about the Mets, big guy. How you feeling?
Unbelievable. I'm thrilled about my man Frank. I'm a huge Frankie Lindor guy. So I'm very happy that he's picking it up, off to Mendoza, back above 200, off the interstate, as Keith would say. I'm glad about that. This guy Tyrone Taylor continues to, excite and amaze. I don't know what's going on there. I just, we're 2 games above 500, which is nothing special. But as you know, in baseball, you can go on a 5-game winning streak and it's all roses. But I think they're a decent team. They're competitive. I just hope they keep playing hard. I think Mendoza's doing a good job. He seems to have his finger on the pulse. It's hard to tell. I mean, what is Mendoza going to be a different manager if they lose 5 in a row now?
Right.
Yeah, no, but it's just we judge so much based on whether we win or lose as to whether this guy is good or bad. But I do think Mendoza is pretty good. So, I think we're doing pretty well.
I like Mendoza overall. I like the contributions that we're getting from Harrison Bader. Jeff McNeil is starting to look like himself. Nimmo is walking a lot, though. That average of 186, we got to figure that out. I got to get that going. I got Marte. Marte's played very, very well. He's played well at the plate. Definitely, I know he had an 0 for 5 today, which dropped him down to 290, but he entered the day at 302. Unfortunately, the bad news is our guy Alvarez young star catcher is now going to be out for a couple months, torn ligaments in his thumb. So now we have to see Thomas Nito play again, which I was hoping I would never have to see. Nito, he just, I turned to the game and he was up, and it was one of those things where like I saw as he was swinging, he was swinging and missing as I turned on the game, and just from the swing and the miss, like I immediately knew it was Nito. And I was like, Nito. But listen, our pitchers, especially our starting pitchers, got to do a better job of not walking the ballpark. That's been the thing that has bitten us in the ass, is when we are just giving up way too many base on balls. And when we don't do that, we are a pretty good team. And we're now sitting at 13-11. I think going on this West Coast trip and coming back, it would have been really nice if we went 4-2, obviously, but to at least go 3-3 is more than admirable. And we come back to Citi Field and we can hopefully get a little win streak and catch the Braves. It seems like the Braves never lose, so it's hard to ever make up any ground on them. But overall, I think that the Mets are at least giving us a product that we can go late into the summer and feel like we're in it. And honestly, we're coming into this season with the expectations that's about as much as you can ask for.
Yeah, exactly. And J.D. Martinez is supposed to be up by the end of the weekend, I believe. So, that could give us a boost. DJ
tomorrow. He's supposed to be up tomorrow. No, Friday.
Okay. DJ Stewart's been doing pretty well. So, listen, I think we've got some good young players. We have some decent bats. Need Pete Alonso to pick it up a little bit. I want him to go on like a dinger fest and, give us like 5 home runs in a week or something. But,
he had that week a couple weeks ago when he won NL Player of the Week. He needs to, But I mean, he's down to 263 now. I love it. I love it when he can hit 263 and still be a very valuable hitter. I love it when he's hitting, 281 or some shit.
That's right. He's very good when it's that. But listen, I think we're doing okay. Like you said, it's a decent start to the season. We can go anywhere from here. So we just have to be consistent and build on this. But I think we will. I hope.
Yeah. Hope so. NFL draft tonight. We're going to get into tomorrow night. Right. Yeah, NFL. Yeah. Well, this will probably drop tomorrow. But NFL draft coming up. We're going to get into who we want to see the Jets draft. Later on, we'll talk about this year's quarterback prospects and how we rank them. But first and foremost, Jets sitting at the 10th pick. There's been a lot of different reports about, what the Jets are going to do, trade up, trade back, take Brock Bowers. What specifically, if you're Joe Douglas, if you're in his ear, plan-wise, what would you say is the best option for the Jets?
I've seen a lot of talk, a lot of different talk, obviously to Brock Bowers, obviously get a receiver. Of course, it all depends on who's available. Some people say what's his name clearly won't be available. Marvin Harrison. I was going to say Reggie Harrison.
Reggie Wayne Jr.
Reggie Wayne. No, Marvin Harrison. He's not going to be available. People say if somehow Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze are available, then you grab them. If not, I don't know. I like Brock Bowers. I've liked him when I watched him play. I don't know if you go at 10 and take a tight end. I don't know if you do that. I think, honestly, if I have some good offers, I look to trade back, get like a second-round pick, maybe fall back a few spots, for somebody who's hungry for whatever quarterback is left out there, I honestly, that's what I would do. That's what I would really be concentrating on. If I have to pick right there, I'd probably pick an offensive lineman. I'd probably pick an offensive lineman. One of the, there's quite a few really good ones coming out, and the best one on my board who's left. Or listen, if one of those receivers is there, I love that kid Rome Odunze out of Washington. I think he's fantastic. Okay, so if somehow he fell, I would take it. But short of that, short of something amazing falling in your lap, like a Rome Odunze or a Joe Alt, neither of them are going to happen. I would probably look to trade back if possible.
I have seen some reports that Joe Douglas would be willing to trade up. And I think, so first and foremost, no to Brock Bowers. Absolutely, positively not. I do not want him for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, like you said, tight end. And second of all, a lot of times there's not too many tight ends who just come in and set the world on fire their rookie season. And we are in win now mode with a 40-plus-year-old quarterback. And I mean, you can look at a recent example like Kyle Pitts, who was very much ballyhooed coming out of school and, coming into the NFL. And last year he had 53 receptions for 667 yards. And that's a couple years into the league. You know what I mean? Like, to me, if you're going to take a skill position player in the top 10, then you're looking for this guy to be an impact player right now. So I think that you do one of two things. You either trade up or you trade back and, maybe get a second round pick, like you said, one of those quarterback hungry teams. But it's got to be an offensive lineman either way. And I've kind of switched my stance on this because I felt like, we have pretty much our offensive line in place. But how often does an offensive line play 17 games all together, everybody playing together? So you have to take an offensive lineman because at the end of the day, the most important thing is going to be keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. And we know that if we have a good offensive line, I think Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. And then I think that, we are one of the top 5 teams in the NFL overall roster-wise, outside of the age of our quarterback and the potential of our offensive line to get injured and definitely the depth of our offensive line. So continue to build that depth and get a guy who hopefully, hey, man, it would suck for them, but if we have to tell one of our tackles that, unfortunately this year you're going to be, starting off as the second string, so be it. There's nothing wrong with them possibly losing a battle to some, big-time rookie who comes in and takes their spot. So if that's the case, then that's what it is. So if I'm the Jets, I'm taking offensive line in that spot, but I don't want to take offensive line at 10. I'd rather either try to jump up and get Joe Alt or fall back a little bit and get somebody in a little bit later in the first round who can come in and will either wow you or sit there and develop and give you some depth with that offensive front.
So if you're trading up, though, so you're looking at giving up this year's first to trade up, as well as next year's, you're giving up a second or third from next year.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. You were asking me about what I want to see them, trade away a second.
Right. I mean, it's next year, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, listen, I don't know. Honestly, no. To me, perfect scenario is we fall back a little bit, pick up a second round pick, and then we go ahead and we add an offensive lineman for some depth. And then in the second round, we go for that skill position. But like you said, if some of those top tier skill position guys drop to us at 10, go ahead and snatch that. So then we're not taking an offensive lineman until at the earliest, the third round. And I do think we need to add some depth on the offensive line.
But we could think about the offensive linemen we've got in the third round and stuff like that before, like this kid Carter Warren, stuff like that.
Sure.
And listen, we could jump up into the second round if we want to. If we see somebody on our board that we really want and we want them, you give up that third round pick in somebody, I don't know, Alan Lazard. Throw him in and give us a second round pick.
Please, Jesus, ain't nobody taking him. All right, so NBA playoffs are in full swing. A lot of the home teams have pretty much held serve. Dallas was the first away team to win a game. We're not going to get into every single series, but is there anything that stands out to you during the playoffs thus far that's noteworthy?
Yes. Phoenix. I'm just, and I feel badly because I have so many friends at work. Obviously, we live here in the Phoenix area. And these guys love the Suns, and they are so disgusting. I find other guys on the trading desk who just come in and say, they're the worst team in the league. They're so disgusting. But honestly,
my guy Marty, who's I don't know if he gets season tickets, but he gets a package for this. He's a big Suns fan, and we were talking before the playoffs started, and I was like, he was asking me how I was feeling. I was like, I'm just a ball of nerves right now. I just need this game to start. And he was like, yeah, I'm checked out. I'm just yeah, whatever. I mean, he just knew, this team, they ain't doing shit.
Dude,
and
I was watching the game yesterday, a little bit of the game yesterday. First of all, they seem totally disinterested in playing any sort of defense, okay? I mean, somebody goes by them, they literally just look and watch them go by. It's unbelievable. And then I saw something really telling. First of all, Devin Booker doesn't even look like himself. I don't know what's happened to that guy. He
What's
doesn't even
going
look like
on with
himself.
him?
What is the deal? I mean, what happened to that guy? And then I see him. He comes down on the left side of the court, makes a cross-court pass over to Bradley Beal. Obviously, they had a miscommunication. The ball goes flying into the stands. You know how guys will usually look at each other in ball, rec ball, any kind of ball, pro ball. My bad. Something. These guys would not even look each other's way after that, Nick. And you could tell in basketball when guys are like that, like it happened, and they were both like, like the ice on this side of the face. Dude,
Yeah.
they hate each other. They hate each other.
It's not good, man. It's not good. It is obvious. And, this guy Booker, he had 20 points last night on 6 of 13, 1 of 6 from 3. When do you ever see that guy shoot 1 of 6 from 3? And was a minus 24 for the game. Durant only has 18 points. He's 6 of 15. And he as well is a minus 24 for the game. Those two led the team in plus minus on the negative side. And yeah, they look lifeless. And Ant is straight punking them. Ant is talking shit, cash money shit to Durant and straight punking these cats. And you would think that they would come out, just absolute on fire the next game, or at least come out with some real passion and effort. And it doesn't seem that way at all. It is going to get broken up this year. And, at this point, it's like, I don't know if I want Durant or Beal or any of these guys. I don't know if I want any of these guys over here.
I would still think about Booker, but that's the only one. Beal?
Definitely not Beal. Definitely not Beal. I meant to say Booker. I definitely don't want Beal. The money and the injuries, no way.
Booker, I would think about. Durant. No, man. I don't want it. I don't want it, man. I don't want it. There's a lot of baggage, too, following Durant. That'll bring up just a lot of unnecessary, it's almost like and this is a crazy comparison, but like bringing in a Tim Tebow. Don't bring him in because it's just too much noise. I don't want Durant. No, it's too much noise. And I suppose if you had Durant, say, instead of Randall, because you can't keep them both on the same team. If you had, I don't even know if that works.
No, he's too perimeter oriented. See, to me, it's not none of these guys that we talk about bringing in my place are in place of Randall because it's all guards. Right. Durant is still a guard to me. You know what I mean? He plays like a guard. I need Grant to be like my starting 2 or 3 as opposed to, him and OG or there's 2 starting wings maybe. And even that doesn't really work because you still need a guy who's a little bit smaller who can, switch on to some of these point guards. And like I thought DiVincenzo did the best job against Maxey the other day. I thought DiVincenzo was one of the guys who did the best job against Maxey the other day. So, and Deuce as well. Yeah, Deuce as well. But, I just think that we got to I thought Deuce did a really good job on him in game 1. I didn't think Deuce did quite as good of a job on him in game 2. And I thought DiVincenzo did. But, I just it's almost sad to see what's going on with these guys in Phoenix. And they look listless. It looks like Eric Gordon is the only person who cares at all. Like he's the only person who seems like he's really out here trying to get it.
Where is Vogel in all of this? What is he?
I saw him get a tech. At one point. He needs to get another one. He needs to do something. He needs to, break a whiteboard or something, guy. Get these guys. What the fuck, man? It looks like they're absolutely taking their heart. But we'll see what happens when they come back home. They don't have the best home atmosphere. But and I look at this guy, Ant Edwards, and he's just, he's all that and then some. Like he's everything that you want him to be. Dude's an absolute dog. I love the fact that they show him just, getting after it and talking shit to Durant. He's letting everybody know. He's letting Durant know. He's letting everybody in the NBA world know that he's here and he's ready. And those guys, they might be the most impressive looking team thus far in the playoffs. And it looks like them and the Nuggets could be on a collision course. We got to throw OKC in there as well, but I see OKC faltering just because they don't have the experience.
They're going to falter. They're not quite ready. They should have done better against New Orleans the other night. But I think you're right. It's going to be Minnesota, Denver out west for sure. The Clippers will also falter because somebody could get hurt or they could find themselves depending on James Harden. I think it's going to be them 2 out west, and hopefully, I believe it could be us and Boston in the East. But there's a lot of basketball to play before we get there. Obviously,
Absolutely. And as they always say, a series doesn't really start until a team wins on the road,
That's
and
right.
most of the home teams have held serve. So we will see if that trend continues. Dallas did win. I think Dallas is another sneaky team out of the just because Luka can get his type of shot whenever he wants, and we know Kyrie is a proven playoff big time performer. They're another team in the West that I think has a chance to come out. And the thing about the Clippers is now you want to try to reintegrate this guy Kawhi at this point of the season. He's always hurt. It's just as much as I love him, I love his game. He's not a guy that I could ever get behind saying, okay, we need to have this guy as one of our few best players and one of our highest paid players on our team, just because he's got way too many missed games. It's just that simple.
Yeah, no, it can't be. Yeah, he's a great player. He'll go down in history as a great, one of the greatest. But yeah, no, I wouldn't want to trade for this guy ever at this point. I mean, he can, I don't know, play it out somewhere else. But I wish him well. But just do it over there.
So this year in the NFL draft, it is one of the more quarterback-heavy drafts that we've seen here recently. There's 4 quarterbacks that everybody says will definitely go in the first round. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and then everybody's presumed number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. Out of those guys, I would like to hear the big guy order that you would rank them in, 1 through 4. What do you got?
1 through 4. I mean, I don't know. I think I might have to go Jaden Daniels over Caleb to go 1-2 right there. Third, I don't know, man. What were the other names? Not J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy is getting a lot of hype. I think he's pretty good, but he needs some time to learn. I think he was in a great system in Michigan that didn't ask a lot from him, but he was a winner. He is a leader, but I don't know if he can do all the things that are necessary. The guy who I think everyone's sleeping on, frankly, is my man from University of Washington, Penix. I know the injuries, the knees, and a shoulder injury, and that's good reason to give pause. If this guy stays healthy, he's as good a thrower or better thrower than anybody, than any of the quarterbacks out there. He really is. He really is, Nick. I honestly and genuinely believe that. But he has to stay on the field, and he has to learn a little bit, But I think he's a fantastic talent at the quarterback position. And Drake May doesn't wow me. I'm sorry. He doesn't wow me. He doesn't. He just, So I guess I'd go Jaden Daniels, Caleb. Then I can't pick Penix just because of, I picked Penix for myself. And I guess I'd have to go Drake May, number 3. I don't know. But between him and J.J. McCarthy, I'm a little iffy about. That boy from Florida State who got hurt is also a very good player. A little skinny, but he's very good. But I don't think he'll go that high. That's a guy in a later round. If the Jets could get a chance to scoop him up to learn, I wouldn't mind.
So first, when it comes to this year's prospects, my number 1 is Jaden Daniels as well. Big, strong, played in the SEC. To me, there's a lot right there. I pay a lot to where guys play in college and the type of guys that they're playing against. That was always my knock against Zach Wilson, who we didn't even mention this, but he's been traded away and his era with the Jets is over. That's all that needs to be said about him. But I was never high on him as a prospect. Didn't want the Jets to draft him. I tried to talk myself into it multiple times throughout his tenure here, but I don't like guys who, I like guys who play in the SEC, who play in the Big Ten, who play against big-time NFL defense, the type defenses and defensive type players. My motto has always been, if the guy plays and there's nobody on the defense who has dreads halfway down his back that was born in that's a Freudian slip. That has dreads halfway down his back and played against, and grew up in Florida or Texas or something like that. if you don't have that, if you're not playing against those guys in college, then I'm not too confident what you're going to do in the NFL. So I like Jaden Daniels for those reasons. And the size thing is a big thing for me. Number 2, J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to go with him. I've watched this guy play over the years. I've watched him develop. I think he's big. He's strong. He's got an NFL arm. I think he's got an NFL brain. I think he is the type of player who I actually think can step in almost immediately because of the pro-style offense that he played in and the fact that he played such big-time college football and showed up on the biggest stage. He did have a very good offensive line and a very good running game, so it would be best if he were able to sit just for a team that is at the top of the draft taking him to maybe get a little bit better before he gets thrown out there. But I would have him as my second. Third, I would have Caleb Williams. Now, everybody has him as the consensus number 1. The reason that I rank him third, first of all, there's just been so much hype on this guy from the very beginning. And I think that sometimes the hype train kind of keeps going and it grows to a bigger thing mythically than it really is. When I watch this guy play, I see him make some huge throws, but I don't see anything that jumps off the screen that says to me, oh my God, this guy, he's the guy. I just don't see it. I just don't. Even if you go and you look at like a guy like Pat Mahomes, if you look at some of his college highlights, there's a couple throws that he makes that you're just like, wow. I don't know. You never see a guy make a throw like that. I don't see that from this guy. He's 6'1". Right. I don't like a quarterback who's 6'1", period. That was another issue that I had with Zach Wilson. Not big enough. I like my quarterback to be 6'3" or better. I like a big, strong guy who can take the NFL punishment and who can see up and over defenses. There has been some guys we've seen recently, especially guys that are a little bit mobile, that are, shorter like he is, that have been able to have success in the league, but they're few and far between. Most of the guys that have success are 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", or better. And I don't like the dad stuff. And the thing is that I'm not even saying I'm super critical of his dad or anything that in particular that he's done. I just don't even like that we know about his dad, that he's even been part of the story as far as, he only wants him to go certain places. And, he's me. If that was my son, I wouldn't even speak to the media. If the media wanted to come to me and ask me and talk to me about stuff, I wouldn't even speak to them. So that's another thing that I don't like about him. And the other thing for me, that's the nail in the coffin, is USC. UFC quarterbacks, they do not come into the NFL and do well. We've seen it all. We've seen it. Matt Leinart sucked in the NFL. Mark Sanchez was not a good quarterback in the NFL. And, and we've also seen it with our guy, Sam Darnold. As a Jet fan, I've been bitten by the USC quarterback too many times for me to throw faith into another one. So I would have him at third. And then at fourth, I would have Drake May. Down senior year, again, doesn't wow me. Nothing I really see from him. And then fifth, I would have Michael Penix Jr. And that's just because, fourth, I would have Michael Penix Jr. just because of the injuries, man. I mean, 2018 through 2021, he got a season-ending injury every single season. You cannot invest big money into that. I don't care how good he looks. I don't care what he's done. I don't care how great he could be. You cannot invest big money into that type of injury history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get drafted he probably won't get drafted till like in the 20s. Some people are saying that the Raiders might take him at 11. Or no,
I've seen that. Most boards I've looked at, I've seen him coming off a little earlier than the 20s, but we'll see. Really? I know you love him. I know you raved about him all season. I do think he's got some moxie. I think he's got a great arm. It's just simply the fact that, the guy is already held together with nuts and bolts. I can't be investing.
I was surprised though. He ran a 4.6, I believe a sub 4.640.
I'm not surprised. It's crazy.
I didn't know he had the wheels like that, but I'm telling you, he's going to be okay. They got him stuck together with a couple paper clips and bubble gum. He'll be fine.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification button on all platforms. Really appreciate all the love. We try to stay as current as possible, so episodes will drop on Thursdays, Fridays, maybe Wednesdays, depending on the Knicks playoff schedule right now. And you can find us on all socials at he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid.